I'm Jennifer Purcell, and welcome to my podcast, Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss, discover, and learn more about the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD and other learning challenges. I do have a website for this podcast, and it is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account for the podcast. They are all under the same name, which is Living with NLD. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast, which can be found by Googling the title of the podcast, which is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. I would like to tell you about a nonprofit that I use for my research for this podcast. It is called the NVLD Project, and I use their blog for my research. They are a nonprofit that is based in New York and is trying to get NVLD back on the DSM, and they provide many resources for people with NVLD on their website. I'll provide you with the website for them in the podcast description. All proceeds from the ads on this podcast will be donated towards the NVLD project. Please feel free to explore the other topics on the podcast, and hopefully you will learn something new from them. I hope you enjoy today's episodes. Also, another announcement that I have to make is I recently created another podcast called Sleepy Butterfly for people who have challenges with sleeping at night or meditating, and it's geared towards people who are auditorily sensitive or have chronic migraines, and being able to have nice, relaxing nature sounds for them to fall asleep to or to meditate to and be able to be refreshed the next day or when they come out of their meditation. So some of the sounds are like chimes or nature sounds like water or rainforest. And again, it's called Sleepy Butterfly. It is on Spotify and also Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. And it's on everywhere else where you can get podcasts as well. So I hope you are able to get some benefits out of that one also. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/. I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. So the next small support group chat for NLDers or people who have learning disabilities will be in July. I haven't done one for a while because I've been busy. Sorry about that. Um, but it will be July 16th, which is the third Saturday. I will definitely do that one because I want to meet with you guys who I haven't seen in a while or talked with a while. I miss you guys. And I want to see how you're doing and be able to support you if you have anything that you need to bring up and have support around. So again, that's on the 16th of July from 10 Pacific time zone to 11:30 Pacific time zone, and that's in the morning, of course. Um, and it's just a safe space for you to share about anything that, excuse me, might be on your mind or might be troubling you. And nothing goes outside the group unless permission is asked about that and granted from that person who shared it. I also want to mention to you that I just launched my podcast swag on Wednesday of this week and have a page for it on my website, and I will also send you the link to it in the podcast description, and I will also send it to you in the newsletter that I usually send out on Fridays. I am now selling t-shirts, water bottles, and a backpack, and they all have the podcast logo and title on it and the tagline. So I am looking forward to watching the sales and seeing who buys them and spreading the word more about my podcast. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/. I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Happy Friday, or maybe it's Saturday for you, depending on where you're listening from. So today's episode will be about MLB and dating, pros and cons of dating numerous couples. Have you ever had challenges with dating? Having a significant other or being able to relate to your date due to a learning challenge? I have had all of those happen to me, and I'm still experiencing it. I'm in the process of online dating, and I use the apps Coffee Meets Bagel and Hinge. I like Coffee Meets Bagel because it was created by three women. It gives more power to the women on the dating app by only allowing the guy to chat with her if
she likes him back. Also, since it was founded by women, it makes me feel safer and more appreciated from using it. I like Hinge too because it has different features like letting the user answer questions with their voice. I like this because then you can hear their voice before you meet them. I feel like you can tell a lot about somebody by how they talk and listen to you when you're talking to them. For me, some of the challenges I experience when it comes to dating is learning how to interact with a guy well over text when I do so much better at interacting with them in person. I don't like virtual interaction like texting because I can tell what the because I can't tell what the tone of the voice is behind the message. I don't have a facial expression to try to help guide me either with how the conversation is going. I'm a really good listener, which is a good trait, but sometimes it gets in my way because I listen too much and don't talk enough. Or sometimes I talk too much and don't listen enough. It's hard for me to find a good happy medium between the two. And I think the reason that's true for me, and maybe you can relate to this, is when you have NLP or when you like to talk a lot, um, and you get really passionate about what you're talking about, sometimes you forget how long you've been talking, and you don't know how to stop. And for me, usually what I try to do is I try to remember how long it was approximately since the other person talked. And if it's been too long, then I try to um, shift the conversation over to them and say, well, what do you think about this? Um, or ask them a question rather than me answering and going on about the topic. Also, I find it's easier for me to know when to let the other person talk if I haven't heard them saying or asking something in return for what I was saying, like I was saying earlier. And that helps because it, for me, because I have NLP, I'm able to, I guess, I'm more auditorily attuned to things because of NLP, because of my auditory memory, and I'm being able to, relate to people in that way. And I've worked on not talking so much and trying to listen to the other person. But like I said earlier, sometimes that doesn't help as much as you think it does. Okay, so another thing that is frustrating for me about online dating is sometimes the guy will abruptly stop talking to me for no reason at all. Or at least you don't know the reason because they don't tell you. I dislike when guys do that because I appreciate it when a person tells me why they want to stop talking with me because then I can learn from my mistakes and hopefully not repeat them. I mean, I know why they might hesitate to do it because they don't want to hurt the girl, or they just don't feel like doing it, or uh, they're trying to be considerate about um, the situation. But for me, and I think this relates to MLB, I don't mind somebody being direct and blunt with me. And I know sometimes I do that with other people, even outside of dating, without realizing, and they take it too personally, and that's not a good thing, which um, I've been trying to work on realizing that um, when that happens, so that I try to remember not to do that. Oh, and by the way, if you feel me pausing, taking water breaks. Excuse me. Another topic with dating that, and this usually happens with online dating, or it can happen with in person, or with other relationships as well, is ghosting. And for those of you who are not familiar with ghosting, it's basically when you've been in contact with somebody either through text or in-person contact, or usually it's virtual though, and you've been in contact with them for, I would say, a few months or a year, and then all of a sudden they just stop contacting you with no explanation as to why. They just kindly be hanging there, and they don't tell you why. Um, I've had this happen to me quite a few times. I did an episode on recently. I did in episode 9 of year 2, and was talking about it as well, or about dating in episode 6 of year 1. Um, so if you want to listen to those episodes, you can. Um, I also have challenges with expressing what I want in a relationship because it takes me a long time to figure out what I want, and it's taken me a long time to find it. I know that I want someone who loves me, is honest, trustworthy, hardworking, protective, but not overprotective, and understanding and compassionate. Those are just a few qualities that I would have in a guy. Um, but also for me, I want them to be understanding about MLB and about the past, especially how MLB relates to the sexual abuse I went through, because those two things are a big part of who I am today. And even though I might, get triggered by villains still, um, I it's not as bad as it was in the beginning, and I'm able to work through it. Excuse me, because of all the therapy I had and the coping skills I have developed. Um, and even though that's true, I want to be able to have a partner who can help me through those times that I might have a meltdown, or I might be triggered by something related to my abuse, because you want to have support from your partner, not just your family and friends. And I really do appreciate the support from my family and friends, but how do I describe this without being hurtful? Um, it feels different when you have it from a guy who actually does love you and you can trust and won't hurt you in a way that you've been hurt before by others. And that feels different than because you don't expect family or friends to hurt you, and when they do, that stings. And I've been hurt sometimes by some my friends, and I've seen it on my neighbors. I've tried longer friends with those people. And that's why I keep the friends I do have now even closer and try to work hard for relationships. And the same thing with family because it it's hard when your family doesn't do what you expected them to do or what you expected them to do. And it's also hard to accept that they won't ever do it for the rest of their life. Um, yeah. So, anyways, I went off script there a little bit, but back to what I was going to say next. I also don't want to ruin my relationship because I did that with my ex, and um, it ruined my relationship with my family and a little bit with my friends, but mostly more with my family. And that was because I was a different person um, before meeting him than I am now, and I became a different person when I met him, and I became very close-minded and rebellious, and that was because I wanted to be independent so badly back then, and he had a version of independence that I liked back then, which I know now isn't really being independent, and is you can't be independent when you live with your parents and they pay for everything for you and they give you a job and do nothing in return to help them. And I used to do that, and now I haven't for a long time, but I used to, or I had the podcast, and I don't know how I did that looking back now. Um, I don't know how I let my relationship with my parents and with my brother be torn apart by my ex and my brothers. Because now I value those relationships way more than I used to, and the things that things me that I've been able to turn those around. And so much so that sometimes it's hard for me to bring up something that I want to because I don't want to do anything to damage the relationship. And um, you have to time things right, and when even if it's a healthy conversation that I'm going to have, then sometimes, and I shouldn't do this because my family has always been on my side, even when we were going through tough times. And sometimes I think the little girl in me still thinks that somebody is going to betray my trust and react the way my extended family did when I disclosed to them about the abuse. And um, I have to remember that my immediate family is on my side and always will be. And to be able to have healthy conversations with them because that is important. And being able to do that is a good thing to do because then you get out what you've been holding in and you hopefully have a positive response. Anyways, when I got out of the relationship with my ex, I did a lot of work to change. and shift my life around to where it is now because, like I was saying, um, that relationship was really toxic, and I didn't realize it was until I was out of it um, for a while. And that helped me definitely realize what I want and what I don't want in a relationship because there were some good things in that, but the bad outweighed the good. And just being able to realize that and learn from it, I think is definitely a good thing for me. And I'm not going to recommend that you listen to the episode I did about mistakes with my ex because it's not one of the best ones I've done. But you can listen to it if you want to, and if you're curious. Um, I could have done better on that one, but did. But you let me know where it's right. And anyways, I brought up those two examples because they demonstrate what you shouldn't do, be with, and how you shouldn't behave while dating or with a significant other. It's not good to date someone who is toxic because they change you as a result of you wanting to be a different person when you're with them. It didn't help me that my ex didn't understand the weight that NLD, migraines, and sexual abuse had in my life, and still do. He didn't really help me with them. He let me live with those challenges instead of asking me how to support me and understand them better. And I think he did this because he, he has, or I'm speaking in the past because I'm not with my ex anymore, but he had schizophrenia and didn't think that was a big deal. Thus, he thought the same about my well-being, migraines, and traumas. But those are big things in my life because, like I said earlier today, they've made me who I am. I need someone who can support me when I'm sad and disappointed about my family being torn apart, about the traumas in their lives that will never change, and being able to radically accept that fact. I need someone to support me when I have an LB meltdown because I recently had a car accident and made a terrible mistake again that I made in my life. I need someone who is with me when my head is about to explode and helps me feel better by trying to take my mind off it. I need someone who lets me have my dog with me and lets me be with my family and friends when I want to, including the guys that I call friends. I want someone who wants to be with my family and friends because I love them and they made me who I am today. And because they got my back. And trust. I need someone who won't change me into a terrible version of myself that lies and manipulates my family and friends. I need them to totally get me. I also want to be able to do the same things for them if they allow me to. I'm sharing those things with you because maybe it will help you discover what you need from life and a significant other. I will talk to you next Friday. Also, another announcement that I have to make is I recently created another podcast called Sleepy Butterfly for people who have challenges with sleeping at night or meditating, and it's geared towards people who are auditorily sensitive or
and or have chronic migraines, and being able to have nice, relaxing nature sounds for them to fall asleep to or to meditate to and be able to be refreshed the next day or when they come out of their meditation. So some of the sounds are like chimes or nature sounds like water or rainforest. And again, it's called Sleepy Butterfly. It is on Spotify and also Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. And it's on everywhere else where you can get podcasts as well. So I hope you are able to get some benefits out of that one also. As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than it originally was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.